Cairngorm Wildcat Scottish Ale.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. Got one here today, and it's the first one I've ever had from the Cairngorm Brewery, based up there in Bonnie, Scotland. And this is their Wildcat Ale. Now there's a fair bit of information about this and I want to get through it all, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. Cairngorm, as I say, are based in Scotland in a place called Aviemore, which is up in the Scottish Highlands near Moray. If you're aware of that area, then you'll know that there's quite a few golf courses up there, and yeah, really not my thing to be honest, but apparently it's lovely. I've got a mate, a German mate, who goes over to Scotland quite a lot and he absolutely loves the place, and I'm sure he's bought this in Germany. This gets exported to Germany, but I've never tried it before, so this is a first for me. Now, firstly, the name Wildcat Scottish Ale. What I want to do, I want to break this down into a little bit about the Wildcat name and a little bit about the style, Scottish Ale, and how it should not be confused with Scotch Ale. Alright, so let's start on the Wildcat. The Wildcat, or the Wildcat Ale, is named after the Scottish Wildcat, which they believe, at the moment, they believe that there are only 400 in existence. So it is more of an endangered species than the Bengal tiger, would you believe? And they do make a donation for every bottle of this that's bought. They make a donation for the project that's trying to conserve the Scottish Wildcat, and I think that's a good thing in my opinion. They do look like horrible little bastards. Not the Scotch. I go mad for that. Scottish people do not like being called Scotch. Don't make that mistake. I do it all the time to wind the Scottish bloke up in work, and yeah, he goes all William Wallace on me. There you go. They still ain't got over Culloden, that lot. They're still going on about Bannockburn, but they just ain't got over Culloden. It's about the final, not about the individual rounds. All right. Anyway, this is a Scottish ale, and the difference between Scottish ale and Scotch ale is market, and you need to be aware that the two are not the same thing. Now, let's discuss Scotch ale first. Scotch ale is an equivalent, a Scottish equivalent, to what the English would have called barley wine. So if you have a... Sorry about that, I had to go and answer the door. There was a delivery at the door. I think my missus is trying to complete Amazon, and she's only a couple of items away from completing the whole website, judging by the amount of fucking stuff she buys on it. Jesus Christ, honestly. I came in the other day and I had a box, well, not a box, several boxes in my arms, and I couldn't see in front of me. I had to look like that because it was up here. Fuck knows what she's buying with it, but there you go. And this is a Sunday. Every day it's getting more and more stuff from Amazon. I'm sure the fucking rainforests have got something to do with her buying all this shit. Anyway, calm down. Let's get back to what we were discussing about Scotch ale and Scottish ale. Now, as I say, Scottish ale is different from Scotch ale. The Scotch ale is similar to English barley wine. It's got a lot of the characteristics. It's got the high say that again. It's got the high ABV, it's got the big malty character, and it's got the big flavours that you would expect from an English barley wine. Sometimes the Scotch, shouldn't say that, the Scottish call it a wee heavy. Now, a wee heavy is not something you get when you've got a prostrate the size of a coconut. A wee heavy means a small measure of strong beer. Now, you have a pint of heavy and you have a wee heavy. Usually barley wine is sold in small glasses, and I'll give you an example of a glass that was used to serve up Scotch ale, and it is the Watney's Scotch ale. I can't imagine that would have tasted nice, but I didn't taste it, but I can't imagine it would taste nice coming from Watney's. But that's the sort of glass you would be served up some Scotch ale in. It's not a It's not a session beer by any stretch of the imagination, hence the reason it's in small glasses. Same with barley wine. Barley wine came in 330ml bottles, and you would sip it and savour it, much like a Belgian quad or a Belgian double, a strong Belgian double even. Scottish ale, on the other hand, was effectively a Scottish session beer. It would range from, say, 3% up to about 5%, and this is 5.1, so it does fall into the slightly stronger end of the Scottish ale style. But that's what it is, so don't confuse the two. Scottish ale and Scotch ale are, well, I wouldn't say completely different. They do share some characteristics. They do have the base of pale malt and then darker malts to give them very big caramel and toffee malt flavours, and they also have not so much emphasis on the hops. It's more about the malt, and that's the reason why I picked this up, because I do like my dark malty beers. They are my thing, if you know what I mean. And that's basically the discussion of the two styles. Quick note about the brewery: they have been going since 1993, so they're quite sort of, well, I wouldn't say quite new, but they're relatively new compared to other traditional brewers, and they were the result of a merger between two breweries. It was the Aviemore Brewery and the Tommy Tall Brewery. They combined and they became the Cairngorm Brewery, and that's where we are now. So, let's investigate the beer. Right, it is a 500ml bottle. It's 5.1%. I'm just looking at this label here. It's a really nice label. It's full colour. You can see that. It's got loads of info on it. There's the Scottish flag on there. Product of Scotland. Respect alcohol. I fucking do, mate. I love it. Don't respect it. I fucking love it. And it's got on here, Great Taste Gold 2011. I'm not sure what that is, whether that's a legit award or it's one of them ones that you pay for. I think that is a legit one, but I'm not too familiar with it. It says celebrating 10 years of Acer National Park. Yeah, Acer National Park. So that's I think it's the Aviemore National Park. I think that's where it's based near. Where the brewery's based near. The description from the brewers says smooth, deep, amber-coloured beer with complex malt, fruit, and hop flavour. Strong and distinctive, like powerful, sleek Scottish Wildcat. It's named after. And that is about it, really. That's all you're getting. So, let's get it open and let's see what's going on. I've been drinking a lot of Augustina Hellas's over the last few days, and fuck me, that stuff is just so Moorish. I've polished off nearly a whole crate of it already in the space of 3 days. Really should calm down on that stuff, but it is a great beer. There's the cap from the Cairngorm Brewery. Nice cap. Let's get it in the oldie glass. Now, on the website, they have a glass very similar to this, which looks like they're suggesting that you drink that out of. I was going to go for a pint glass, but then I saw on their website they had this type of glass, so I thought, well, I'll do what they do. Now, I'm not going to get the full pint in there, because this, I think, is a 330ml. This is a Belgian glass, usually meant for Belgian red ale. But let's put some Scottish ale in there instead. There you go. It is a dark amber colour. As I said, Scotch ale is normally darker than this, and it's got much bigger flavours. A lot of American brewers are trying to brew Scottish ale now, and they're getting confused. They start putting like peaty flavours in, and you know, the malty flavours that you would normally associate with a Scotch whisky. They think Scotch ale is something to do with a Scotch whisky, and it's not. The two are completely different. The only similarities between that and Scotch whisky is the name Scotch. But there you go. Right. That smells nice. That smells very malty. There's a lot of caramel and a bit of toffee on there as well. And some dark fruit now. That's coming through. This smells really nice, actually. And I read the description. That's why I bought it. Because it did talk a good fight. And am I going to be a big fat liar and say I'm not going to get... No, I won't get it all in there. I won't. I'm not going to risk it. It'll go everywhere. Oh, it's really malty. It does smell good, though. I will say that. Very rich, earth, dark fruit, raisins, big raisins and dates. That's the fruit you're getting from there. And it smells really good, I have to say. A lot of toffee malt on there, a lot of caramel and that dark fruit. Not too much hop character on there. Head is dissipating a little bit. Let's get it down the hatch, see what's going on. Bottoms up. That is nice. Well, that is really nice actually. Right, what you're getting on there, as the aroma suggested, was a lot of toffee malt and caramel malt and the fruit. But there is a nice bitterness on the finish, which is like an earthy, spicy bitterness. And if I didn't know better, I'd say that this was it has got some of a Challenger hop character to that, because it is quite bitter on the finish. The bitter finish doesn't last that long, but it's there, and it's quite nice. It is good, but do you know what's niggling me a little bit? I've had this in the fridge, and I think I'm drinking this too cold, because that is above chilled. That is bordering on cold, if you know what I mean. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to let that stand. I'm going to let it warm up a little bit, and then I'm going to give you a better indication of what the flavours are, because I think I'm stifling some of them flavours drinking it at this temperature. It was my intention to just leave it here and let it warm up a little bit and then drink it, but I'm gasping for a beer. I was working out in the studio doing like the expanding foam all around the top of the wall, and I'm covered in shit, been breathing in dust all day, and I just wanted a beer, and I think I've messed that up serving it that cold. So I'm going to let it stand for a bit, and then I will give you a second opinion. Stay tuned. Right, this has sat for a bit. Head's still there, retention is good on that. I will give that. So it's warmed up a little bit. Let's see what it tastes like, see if I'm getting any more flavours. Oh, it's really good. It is really nice. It's like a very full-bodied ESB. That's what I'd consider it as, even though it's only 5.1%. ESBs are normally a little bit higher on the ABV, sort of 5.5 to 6%. But this is really full-bodied. It's got a nice bitter finish on it that lingers for a while, but not too long. And the malts on this are really what make this stand out, and it's full of big caramel and toffee notes. There is dark fruit as well, but the malt is what hits you first. It's really nice. I do like this. There's almost like a vanilla creaminess to it as well, which I've occasionally got in beers. Sometimes Belgian, the odd British, very malty style beer, but the Belgian ones that I've found it in most are like the quadruples and some of the doubles as well. Again, it's the big malt that gives it that. And this is really good. I have to say, I am impressed. There's a nice earthiness to it, but they haven't done what a lot, as I mentioned before about the Scotch ale, what a lot of American brewers do. They interpret Scotch ale as having something to do with Scotch whisky, so they use, they give it like a peat flavour because they use peat roasted malts, and it That's what they do in whiskey as well, and that's why you get that sort of smoky style flavour. You don't really get that in there. You get more of an earthiness to it. Now, some people may interpret that earthiness as like a peat smokiness, but it's not. It's definitely earth that's come from the hops that have gone into this. And I would love to know what the hops are, but there's no brew sheet. I'm assuming it's some sort of Challenger hop, because it has got that really nice spicy black pepper bitterness on the finish and the earthiness to it as well. And they're big initially on the finish, but the finish dies away quite quickly. But it's really good. I have not got any complaints about this whatsoever. It's very drinkable as well. It's flavour intense, but also drinkable. And that's good. And it's not an easy thing to accomplish with a beer. Normally you would get a bitter that's very full on in the flavour, but after 3 or 4 of them you'd think, oh, this is a bit much, it's a bit rich for me. That's got the perfect balance of drinkability, but also the big flavour on it as well. And that's not easy to achieve. You rarely see that on beer. Cotley do that really well, I will say. They're a really good brewer from the other extreme of the country, down in Somerset. As far away from the Highlands as you could get, but at least they've got something in common with some of their beers at least. Really good. I really like that. That's a good one. So what's the verdict on Cairngorm Wildcat Pure Scottish Ale? That is a really nice one. And don't make the mistake I made of putting it in the fridge, taking it straight out of the fridge and drinking it, because you're going to miss a lot of flavours. These type of beers, and I should have known better, and it's what I intended to do, but it was just me being impatient, because I've been breathing in dust all day and I was gasping for a beer, and I did want to try this, and I just thought, well, I'm going to drink it anyway. But I think on the initial mouthfuls I wasn't getting the full flavour of the beer. Letting it warm up a bit, a whole host of new flavours came through. The bitterness was much more accented on the end, or accentuated. I'm not sure what the adjective is for that, but I could get the bitterness a lot more. And it's really good, I have to say. And that's the first, is it the first Scottish ale I've tried? Possibly, I'm not sure. I'm going to not commit myself on that one. But regardless, and this is the first one I've had from the Cairngorm Brewery, and it's a really good one. And I've been looking, while I was waiting, I was looking on their website, and I was looking at some of the other beers they do. They do one called Sheepshagger's Delight or something like that. Was it the best ale bar none? And I'm probably going to give that one a go. But they also do a chestnut ale as well. I think it's called a Loch Ness chestnut ale or something like that. I'm going to give that one a go as well. And if it's anything like this, it's going to be a good one. I really like that. I'm going to give that a very solid 8.5 out of 10. I'm definitely going to recommend it. And the reason I'm going to recommend it is because it's only £1.90. And for what that is, it's a really nice drink. If you're into your ESBs, you're quite full-bodied, strong bitters, and you like big toffee malt, big caramel malt, and a reasonably bitter finish, you are going to absolutely love this. I really enjoyed it, and that is for me a solid 8.5 out of 10. Excellent. Well done, Cairngorm. I'm going to try some more of their beers. And remember, beer is working class champagne.